again, everyone. Welcome to Cotton Grower Magazine's Cotton Companion Podcast. This is Jim Stedman, editor of Cotton Grower, alongside my colleague and good friend Beck Barnes. And Beck, 2 weeks ago, we were complaining about ice and snow and sub-zero temperatures across the Mid-South and other Cotton Belt states. And now we're sitting in the first of what will probably be multiple springs that we're going to see between now and April. And I know you've had a listing of those springs. Can you recall which one we're in?
Yeah, I used to have it close at hand. I don't have it written down, but I believe this is called First Fool's Spring. And people who were listening last year will recall, I am the fool when it gets to be this temperature. Yeah, I caught myself thinking about, man, should I be thinking about laying some mulch down and flower? What if I ran up to my little garden center and got some flowers? And of course, take a step back and realize it's probably going to look like, Antarctica again at some point in February. It's nice. Gotta hang on to it while it's here. I told you a moment ago, I may try to sneak out and hop on the bike while it's currently 67 degrees and sunshiny outside.
Yeah. Well, it does give you hope in the middle of, what is technically winter, but
yeah, for my mental health, yes, it's wonderful. I needed it.
Definitely. Well, in today's episode, we're going to turn our attention to cotton marketing, but we're not going to be talking with any of our usual economic experts. Instead, as we mentioned in our last episode, we're going to visit with Jason Moss, Stinnett, Texas, who's the recipient of the 2023 Joseph J. O'Neill Cotton Marketer of the Year Award, which is sponsored by BASF. Jason and his partner Chris Bogner farm 8,000 acres up in the Texas Panhandle, northeast of Amarillo, and included in that is more than 2,000 acres of cotton. Now, he grew up on a family farm in west central Illinois, which he also still farms, but he spent more than 15 years in marketing consultant with growers in multiple commodities, so he's got a really interesting background. I had an opportunity to sit down with Jason during the Beltwide Cotton Conference this last month. We're going to share that conversation with you in just a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one, Jim. But first, of course, we want our sponsor partner, the American Cotton Shippers Association. They have a brief message they'd like to share with us.
The American Cotton Shippers Association, also known as ACSA, is a trade association primarily made up of cotton merchants founded in 1924. ACSA members manage the majority of the world's cotton trade, providing services of merchandising, delivery logistics, and risk management to their customers. ACSA is proud to be celebrating its 100th anniversary this year. Join them in Scottsdale, Arizona in June 2024 for their Centennial Celebration event.
Okay, thanks to our good friends at ACSA, the American Cotton Shippers Association, for that message and for their support.
Now, before we get to our interview, just a reminder that the National Cotton Council will be holding its annual meeting next week. That's February 16th through the 18th in Orlando. And during this meeting, delegates and industry representatives from the 17 cotton-producing states and all 7 industry segments are going to review and approve resolutions, establish policies to guide the activities of the National Cotton Council in the coming year. And it's also the time when new officers are elected for the organization. Now, Beck, this year you get the opportunity to go to Orlando representing Cotton Grower at the meeting. And as you know, it's always a busy few days. Lots of activities, lots of news to gather and digest.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to getting down there. Looking forward to getting out of the house for a little while here in the doldrums of winter. And it'll be right a few degrees warmer down there, I would think, than it is when I leave here. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, Jim. On a kind of, personal note, I'm getting to the age now where buddies of mine who I know back home are getting involved in the council, and I've gotten a few texts from guys back in the Mississippi Delta wanting to know if I'll be there this year because they're going for the first time, and so that's exciting to get some new blood in there, and looking forward to seeing some of my buddies down in Orlando, some of my farmer buddies, I should say, down in Orlando this week. I'm certain you don't remember. There's no reason you would, Jim, but coming up on 4 years ago now, I was doing some business down in Florida. We had a sister publication called Florida Grower, and I was coming into a new position. I was a business director for Florida Grower, and I was going to go down there. There's a very nice golf course outside of Orlando. I think it's called like Stream Song. If I were a better golfer, I would know and if my memory was better, I would know the name of this course. But anyhow, it's like people know about it. It's really nice. And I was very giddy that I had this new job that was going to require me to be playing a lot of golf down there in Florida, cutting deals right on the course down there in Florida in the warm months. And so I had the first of these golf trips lined up, 18 holes with a business partner, and the date for this thing was March 12, 2020. And if you have any type of memory, you'll know that was, I think it was the day that the NBA and various other associations around the country shut down. And I never got to play that round of golf, is what I mean to tell you. And so I have a rain check on it. I'm going to see if they will honor it from 4 years ago, the round of golf that I had canceled by a pandemic. So I'm looking forward to that too.
Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed for you that you can squeeze that in somewhere while you're down there.
Well, let's hope we don't have another outbreak, between now and, maybe the universe is trying to tell me something that I'm not meant to play that course or something.
Well, if you've ever seen me play any golf course is way above my head.
Well, now that's worth mentioning too. My golf game 4 years ago was, I was before I had a kid, so I was a much better practice back then. Now I'm probably pretty poor. So, I would hope none of my business associates would happen to drive by and see me on the course this year.
I don't want to see anybody holding up cell phones.
Yes, exactly.
Well, obviously with the meeting, there's lots of recaps, there's lots of reports, news coming out of that meeting. We're going to be covering it all. So be sure to keep an eye on cottongrower.com. We're going to have some comprehensive coverage in the April issue of Cotton Grower. And we will definitely talk in more detail about the meeting, about the election results, and the annual awards that the NCC presents in our next episode of the Cotton Companion. So speaking of awards, let's move on to our interview with Jason Moss, who received the 2023 Joseph J. O'Neill Cotton Marketer of the Year Award. As I mentioned earlier, Jason has a very interesting backstory on how he and his partner got into the cotton business, and he and I had a chance to visit following the award presentation earlier this year at the Beltwide Cotton Conferences in Fort Worth. Here's what he had to say. Jason, tell me a little bit about your farming operation. Name your farm and some of the things that some of the crops and things that you have going.
Yeah, the name of our farming operation is Pringle Family Farms, which is a partnership of myself and Chris Bogner.
Mm-hmm.
And we farm in the Texas Panhandle. We farm irrigated corn and cotton. And on our dry land acres, we raise milo or cotton or wheat, depending on the rainfall at the time of planting.
It's still rainfall dependent up there.
It really is rainfall dependent. And, dry land crops are kind of a 1 in 3 year probability of making a crop. So it's largely an insurance game.
Mm-hmm.
So everything kind of lives and dies by your irrigated acreage.
Right. You are in a part of Texas that I think has been described as being pretty harsh from time to time.
That's right. Quite harsh. Mother Nature. I come from the Midwest. I'm a corn, soybean, hog farmer from West Central Illinois.
Okay.
And learning to farm in the Texas Panhandle was eye-opening experience. Mother Nature is a lot more ruthless in West Texas. And in fact, the conquistador Cortez, funny story, said in his journal after he did a tour up through what included the Texas Panhandle, this would have been in the early mid-1500s, he said, this place is not inhabitable by humans, speaking to how harsh Mother Nature actually is.
Yeah, but you do have some water up there, right?
We do. The water comes from the Ogallala Aquifer, which extends from up into Nebraska down to close to where we're at in Texas. And the Lubbock area has started to run out of water in the last 20 years. The Dalhart area has started to run out of water over the last 10 to 15 years. And so the Cotton Belt has really shifted from the Lubbock area to Amarillo North area in Texas.
Okay. Now, you've got some background as a marketing consultant in the business and everything. How has that impacted, or has that been valuable to you in terms of setting up your own farming operation and marketing your crops?
Well, I think having a background in marketing, allowed me to have a comfort factor with the supply chain, just how crops were merchandised in the area. I started working with farmers in the Texas Panhandle in 2007, and learned how corn flows. The kind of basis that elevators typically have, the different types of contracts that farmers use, and what available contracts there were, and learning that first. I come from an ag econ background, so the marketing component was crucial in being able to forage and out of the Midwest into a lot higher risk farming environment.
Definitely. Well, what's your philosophy on marketing cotton?
I have a lot of different marketing philosophies. Most of them, would apply to any crop. I think sometimes, I think it's, for example, I think the biggest mistakes in marketing are always quantity related, not price. I think we sell too much of it, or too little of it, or all of it, or none of it. It's usually not from, selling something at a price that the price was that bad. So I think they're quantity related. And I think when it comes to estimating what price could do, I think it's a lot easier to be right on price than it is on time. For example, you might think that cotton could get back to 85 cents, and there's a big difference on whether that happens by January the 25th or if it's happening on April 2nd. So I think, so I try to focus on price, but then be a little flexible on the time. And I think it's important to know your next price. If I decide today I don't want to sell cotton, well, then today I think it's important that I be able to state at what price I do want to make the next sale. The market's just too volatile to decide later. You need to know your next pricing point. And then I like to diversify the marketing. So a portion of the crop, whether it's a quarter or a third of the crop, to have put them in various pools. I like to put them in a few different pools just to kind of compare and contrast between them. And then on the rest of it, I like to use acre contracts. We're in an area of Texas with a little bit lower quality, where sometimes weather can really diminish quality in a hurry if you don't expect it. For example, if we're too cool in the end of the season, in that September time frame, the quality can really diminish, and the penalty for quality discounts in an acre contract is a little more forgiving than bale contract. So it's kind of how I go about it. Diversify the marketing tools that we use to sell the crop.
Crop insurance?
Yes, crop insurance is a big part of farming in Texas in general. One contrast from the Midwest I found in Texas, it's big, high hail risk country. So, every year we are always, debating, it's the mix. It's crop insurance, your multi-peril insurance, and your hail insurance. And the combination of the two, how many dollars you're protecting in amongst multi-peril crop insurance that protects against anything and almost anything. And the hail insurance, so it's a balance between the two.
Okay. I think when we talked earlier, last week, you mentioned something about there's some certain advantages to farming in your area that over, say, the Mid-South and the Southeast. Can you kind of explain that a little bit?
I've always, and I've worked with growers, talked with farmers in the Delta, the Deep South, to the Texas Panhandle for the last couple decades. And on average, I think that the cost of production is 4 to 7 cents lower in the Texas Panhandle, which could be a combination of a little bit less insect pressure, little different seed cost or other, maybe some chemical cost. But while you do have that cost advantage, the swing in what Mother Nature deals you, we might have, let's say we had the same average yield as someone in Mississippi Delta.
Mm-hmm.
We would probably, the same farm in Texas would probably have a lot wider range of the lowest yield to the highest yield that comprised of that average. Just a lot more volatility in the higher standard deviation and risk.
Okay, great. For more details about Jason and the Cotton Market of the Year award, check out the cover story in the February issue of Cotton Grower, as well as on cottongrower.com.
So, all right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Cotton Companion podcast. We want to say a big thank you to the Cotton Marketer of the Year, Jason Moss, for taking time to visit with us. And we want to say thank you as well to the American Cotton Shippers Association for their participation and sponsorship of the Cotton Companion. And as always, we want to say thank you, dear listener, for joining us. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode, and if you did indeed like what you've heard, please be sure to spread the word. Tell your farming friends and neighbors about the Cotton Companion podcast. Here's where and how they can find us.
You can find the Cotton Companion in 3 easy ways. First, go to cottongrower.com/companion, or simply click the podcast tab at the top of the homepage. Second, subscribe to our channel on iTunes or wherever you find your podcasts these days. And 3, sign up for our weekly e-newsletter, the Cotton Grower e-News, that's delivered to your email inbox every Tuesday morning. You can do that by going to cottongrower.com/subscribe. Also, be sure to follow Cotton Grower on social media. We are at Cotton Grower Mag on Twitter. And on Facebook, you'll find us by searching for Cotton Grower Magazine.
Cotton Companion podcast is produced twice monthly by Tyler Hatch and Kim Henderson, our talented colleagues at the world headquarters for Meister Media Worldwide in lovely Willoughby, Ohio. I'm Jim Stedman, he's Beck Barnes, and we'll be back with you in a few weeks with all the news from the National Cotton Council annual meeting, the next episode of the Cotton Companion. Until then, stay dry and stay safe.
Yeah, he works and he works and he works and he works all day. God made a